Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at The Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
5-star review. Go do it!
And as always, we talk judging and MMA. So head on over to abcboxing.com. Read the scoring criteria.
Danny, I didn't know if we were going to make it back after last week's fallout.
We made it, though.
We did. We did. We made it up. We made up. We found common ground again.
You appeased me by doing a full Bellator show.
Yep.
At my request.
That literally was at your request to do this. That's the God's honest truth of it too, which is quite backward there, right?
Yeah.
Here we are. Not that I have a problem with it, of course, but not what I expected to come out of your mouth.
Well, here's the thing. My thoughts are these judges, best judges in the world, they deserve some more attention. If they're, if we can do it, we should. So.
Oh, so you want to do Bellator every time?
Maybe. Maybe some fights here and there.
All right. And will that also come with you not, whining at everything whenever I try to say to do it?
Next week is an interesting card.
Next week is, honestly, and we'll get to that later, but I think there's some debate about which one is the better card, period.
Yeah.
And I don't even think there is debate over which one has the better main event. But again, we'll get to that later. Let's talk about this past Bellator card from Friday evening, or for us in the on the East Coast, it was Friday, I guess afternoon still. By the time it was over, right? Early afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it ended.
Yeah, but nonetheless, a little earlier over here than it was over in Ireland, where the fights were taking place. And Benson Henderson got the very clear victory over the local Peter Queally. 49-45s all around. He lost a point in round number 2. What do you think of that point deduction? Did you caught that? Right?
Hey, the reasoning was, you can hear Kevin McDonald says he's not the same fighter since that foul, so I got to take a point.
I thought it was good.
I'll go with it.
I want more of that being done.
And maybe Kevin McDonald was onto something, because Peter Queally was outmatched in this fight. So maybe that low blow did do something.
Is it entirely possible that maybe he was just not the same fighter, period, or was he just not up to the challenge of facing against Benson Henderson? Who knows? What we do know is that Benson Henderson got the win, clear victory. And now he's got 3 fights left, because I believe he signed a 4-fight deal with Bellator.
Okay.
And this is supposedly his last contract, right?
Forever.
Well, until, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and all that other stuff from A Song of Ice and Fire. But what did you think, first off, of his performance in general? How did Benson look to you?
He looked good.
Mm-hmm.
He was grinding. He landed a ton of knees. He landed another strike that you can only say, oh, well, if someone was going to land this strike, who would land it? And you'd say Benson Henderson, the head kick from the ground.
Yeah.
He grind out victory. Good in the grappling, as always. Solid knees, elbows. Thought it was a good win.
And so where we leave him is, of course, 3 fights left. He says he wants that lightweight title before he's gone, right? Do you think he can? I mean, I guess it's tough to say. Is he going to win it? Because we don't know when he's going to fight and who he's going to fight and that kind of thing. So my question is, do you foresee him being able to get the Bellator lightweight title over these final 3 fights, no matter who it is? Do you think he's got it in him?
The thing is, if they just let him fight Patricky right away, I think he has a shot.
Mm-hmm.
If he has to go through Usman Nurmagomedov, it might be a little more difficult.
And that is, of course, the matchup that's in the works, so that does make it a lot more challenging, right?
Yeah, I think if they just go... I mean, he lost a split to Patricky, so it was already a close fight. So there's always a shot that maybe he does get the win. But having to go through Nurmagomedov to get there puts a little wrench in things.
It does. It makes it very tricky. So I guess it's probably a question that we have to kind of revisit later. It would... And this is not a slight to Benson, I don't think at all, but... A fighter who's been in the game as long as he is, if Nurmagomedov was able to climb the mountain and get to that belt before, I would have to go with the young lion there.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah, but I won't rule him out, because Benson Henderson has been a winner wherever he's gone, right?
Yeah, he's risen to the occasion multiple times.
But what hasn't risen to the occasion, unfortunately, are a lot of these Bellator main events this year, dude. It's not that this fight this weekend was bad. I don't think it was a bad fight. but it was just a one-sided fight. And we've had a lot of these one-sided 5-round fights this year in Bellator. And mostly they've been, title fights. There's not a whole lot you can do when it's a title fight. But this was a non-title affair. And we still ended up with one fighter who, point deduction aside, was the winner of every single round.
I mean, I think you can say the same thing about a lot of, not even main events, just Bellator in general. They tend to have a lot of mismatches and lopsided bouts.
Well, this card in particular had a lot of fights that actually went to the cards, and we really don't have a whole lot of rounds to discuss. Which, look, part of that is the standout judging, right? We do have some really strong officials, but I mean, it's an extremely high percentage of rounds that are not being split in this case here. It's highly unusual to see such a high degree of agreement, and I think part of that is, like you're saying, just a whole lot of, I guess, mismatches, right?
Yeah.
But mismatches with fighters who are probably, too tough for their own good in some cases, or maybe just
Peter
good enough. They've got some survivability.
Took a lot of damage.
So that he did. We didn't actually calculate the percentage of these of the rounds like we usually do.
Oh yeah, so we have four rounds, but only three are contested over the winner.
Right, and then one of them is a 10-8. One of the rounds actually initially looked like it was a split, and that was it was round 3. It was going to be a potential 10-8-9 split in Derek Kelly and Kyle Stevens, but actually I have learned since then that the scorecards that were put out from the Mohegan Commission by Bellator PR, and this is through no fault of Bellator themselves, but it was mistranscribed apparently. So it was actually a unanimous 10-8 round.
Yes.
And
since I did watch this thinking it was a contested round, I'm going to give you my thoughts on this.
I would love to hear it. This is what everyone tuned in for.
Yeah.
A non-contested round assessment. Go on.
Because I thought it was a 10-8 versus 10-9.
I know. I understand.
So I put the work in. I'm going to let everyone know. Stevens starts out pretty good on the feet, lands a jab or two. Nice right hand, but Kelly takes a shot, drags him down to the ground. And this is the kind of jiu-jitsu that I love. The slow, deliberate advancement. Once Kelly gets the gift wrap, takes them out, it's all Kelly. It's total domination from here. Stevens is overwhelmed in the transitions. Kelly is landing some big shots. He takes the back at the end, locks in a tight RNC, which is a rear naked choke. Stevens escapes at the end of the round, but landed some strong shots. 10-8 for me.
Well said.
Thank you.
Before we go on to actually the 4 contested rounds we will talk about, and not just you talking at me and our listeners, I did want to touch upon Yoel Romero here, because once again, through against all odds, he has another 3rd round finish.
That's what the guy does.
Every single finish that he has achieved in, I think, the last 10 years. And we're up to 8 now, I think, has been in the 3rd round. It's just, it defies logic. I asked him about it last week, and, he was joking that it's on this, God worked for 6 days, and on the 7th he rested. I don't know what he was really getting at exactly, but more or less he was just kind of joking. There was some sort of divine intervention on it, but yeah, it even he couldn't really explain it. It's just wild, and sure enough, it happened again.
That was also Melvin Manhoff, so
I understand there's Melvin Manhoff, but he had 2 other rounds he could have done that to Melvin Manhoff.
Maybe he waited.
Sometimes you almost got to think, is he trying to do this now? And if he is trying to do it and he's still getting it done, wow, is that dude awesome? That's impressive.
If that's what he's doing, yeah.
Yeah, it's even more impressive if he's actually trying to do it, although ill-advised, probably. Because, again, don't forget, I believe it was in the second, I think we talked about this last week, the second Whitaker fight, he would have gotten a 3rd round finish there, because that was one of his strongest rounds, too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's something about that round, man. It's wild. But the question I have for you is, I don't know where he sits in the Bellator pecking order as far as maybe getting a title shot or that kind of thing. But I feel like they know what they have in Yoel Romero, and they don't necessarily want to wait too long in putting him in some sort of title fight. Still can't do it yet because they've got to work out who's the winner of the 205-pound Grand Prix between Vadim Nevkov and Corey Anderson. Of course, it was a no contest their last fight, but it looked like Anderson was starting to take control of that one, right? Here's the question. If the next fight for the belt after this one is sorted out is against or puts Yoel Romero in there, how do you think he would fare against either Nemkov or Anderson?
I lean both Nemkov and Anderson.
Okay.
For each fight. I think Yoel obviously has the power. He has a puncher's chance. I think the wrestling cancels out with Anderson. I think Anderson's probably a little better on the feet. Doesn't have as much power. So as long as he doesn't get caught, he should be fine. And then I think Nemkov just has too many tools and would be able to pick him apart.
You know what's crazy? I actually think I would pick Yoel Romero right now in both instances. Like at this moment, I think I would pick him. And I don't know. It's probably just recency bias.
Okay.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. That's what I think it is. But in this very moment, if you said to me, Scott, you got to put your house up on the market, you could get 2 houses back if you bet the right fighter here, or you lose it. You got to pick one, and I'm picking Yoel.
Oh, that's a thought. Wow.
It's what I have to do. If the gun's at my head, if I'm going to lose the house, then that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
It's kind of blows my mind that I feel that way. But I actually feel much better about his chances against Nemkov because I think the wrestling would be there as a tool for him. And he did use it against Manhoff here. It was a lot of wrestling.
That was another thing I was about to... If he actually uses all his tools, he's very good. Sure. Manhoff was biting on these feints of the takedown hard.
Now, Manhoff's been fighting for 27 years, right? So it's been in the game a while. Maybe it's just time and that kind of thing, right? And obviously Nemkov is a much younger fighter and ostensibly could be more used to the modern game than Melvin Manhoff is. Just by sheer virtue of, was he even born at the time Melvin Manhoff made his debut? I don't know. I don't even know the answer to that.
Probably, maybe.
I'm sure they're similar in age.
Okay.
Yeah, if nothing else, right? But yeah, you would lean the other way.
I lean both ways. But yeah, I think I lean Corey Anderson above Nemkov because I think Corey Anderson's going to beat Nemkov.
I do too.
In the rematch.
I do. At this point, it's just based on what we saw again. So
yeah.
All right. But I think it would be interesting. I hope they do actually. If their plan is to get him into a title fight, just do it sooner than later. Honestly, when it comes to Bellator, I really just want them to put together fights that are interesting and hopefully play out in an interesting way. It doesn't matter to me that much more about the merit. To some degree, it does, but I mean, the way I think a lot of people look at it is, and I do think that there, especially at the heavier divisions, there's at least some argument that there's some better talent in Bellator that can kind of go toe-to-toe with the UFC in some ways. Maybe not the very top at heavyweight, but I think somewhere in the top 10 of both of these divisions here, 205 and heavyweight, there's some parity there. But having said that, I really just want them to put on good fights. If Bellator is going to be able to kind of keep the interest of fans, I think they need to find ways to put on more interesting headliners than what they've been able to do a lot of the time, especially when it's a non-title fight. So I hope they're able to kind of correct course. But that's that we could go on and on about that. Let's go into contested rounds because we only have 4.
Okay.
So let's get to it. Starting with Pedro Carvalho getting the win over Mads Burnell, and this was an upset. Unanimous decision, 229-28 and a 30-27, I should say. Round 1 is where we're split. So right off the bat, what's going on here?
Yeah, so Carvalho's got a lot of success on the feet. He did more effective offense, I think, on the feet. Of course, Burnell, he went in the grappling, but was it more effective? I didn't see him use his position all that effectively. Yeah, he gets the back, but he doesn't lock a body triangle, and he doesn't even put 2 hooks in. He just has 1 hook in, and he doesn't attack a sub, hardly throws a punch. Big John is saying, this round is scored for Burnell because the grappling was more of the round than the striking. I've yet to hear anyone else say that other than him.
That's just not really how a lot of judges score. I have heard other judges say this, but it's not the predominant way, and it's not the way it's taught.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a huge voice for officiating and judging, but me personally, I haven't heard anyone really other than him say it.
Because they definitely didn't say that.
No,
Kevin McDonald didn't say that in the judging course we took. Yeah,
I mean, I have no issue scoring it for Burnell. I just think Carvalho had more effective offense contributing towards the ending of a fight. He had good body kicks, good punches to the head. I think he did more. Burnell needed to do more with his position, I think, to get it to him.
So you ended up with Carvalho.
I'm on Carvalho, 10-9.
I did go the other way. It's a crummy round. I think it's just kind of a crummy round, to be perfectly honest. Because, yeah, you do have a lot of the round is this grappling that's maybe not necessarily the most effective, right? But I do think, on the whole, he was able to pile up enough effect from the grappling that I was able to say, okay, I think we can give it maybe the edge there over what Carvalho was able to accomplish. But I don't feel super strongly about this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to go fight anybody about this one.
Fortunately, Carvalho was able to differentiate himself over the final 2 rounds, make it very clear that he was the winner of those rounds and move forward, right? So we don't have any sort of doubt necessarily over who really won the fight.
No.
I know there was a lot of people there was actually a lot of pushback when people heard the 30-27 scorecard for Carvalho, which was what you ended up with.
Mm-hmm. So
interesting to see how you were able to get there. I think a lot of people kind of need to hear the reasoning that you gave.
Hey, listen, if you think Twitter is bad on fight night, try the YouTube chat during the prelims.
Oh, you were talking about this. What was that like? Because I don't look at stuff like that.
Just brutal. Like,
what are they doing?
Oh, just insult after insult. There's
I guess the fighters or the other people.
Fighters
in the chat?
officiating a lot towards Big John.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy.
Big John isn't necessarily the most popular with people, especially as a commentator.
The Karahanyan fight is one I actually tuned in live for.
Okay.
And Big John, one of the rounds,
who beat him? He lost. Who beat him? Do you remember?
No.
I mean, I'll look it up. But
one of the rounds he scored a 10-8 for Karahanyan, and I turned in late during that round, so I don't really know. But everyone was like, "There's no way."
Kane Musa, is that it?
Yeah, Musa.
You watched it. I didn't actually check it out.
Yeah, so everyone was going hard for that one, saying that he's crazy for giving that a 10-8.
Mm-hmm.
And no judge actually did give a 10-8, but they weren't nice in the chat room.
Well, that's unfortunate. We don't want any bully behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
But we can move on to our next round, because we only got 4. I think we can get through this without too much resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kieran Clark, local guy, got the win over Rafael Hudson. Is that what they were saying, right? They weren't saying Hudson.
I don't remember.
I think they were saying Hudson, if I recall. It was a different pronunciation.
Yeah.
But it was a 3rd round submission, rear naked choke, and a come from behind victory as well, because Hudson was on track to win that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Round 2 is where we're split, though, and it would potentially been like a split decision or something like that if it went that way. But yeah, what's going on in round 2?
Yeah, it starts out with Hudson. I'm going to say Hudson.
We'll go with Hudson.
Lands a couple jumping knees to the body and then starts throwing some haymakers. He's not landing these, but Clark was like, forget this. I'm just going to shoot and take you down. He accepts pulling guard, Damian Maia style, into half guard. He's very active from the bottom, throwing strikes. Nothing really that strong, but more than Hudson's throwing. Back on the feet, Hudson seems to have the advantage, landing some decent shots, but then falls down after throwing another jumping knee and getting caught with a jab as well in this sequence. Clark gets on top, passes, lands some strong ground and pound from quarter mount. He was looking to finish. I think he wins at 10-9. Clark.
I liked how you bounced between Hudson and Hudson. Couldn't make up your mind.
Yeah, I couldn't make.
I know. I understand. I understand. It's already planted, right? I also saw this one for Clark, and I think one of the main. And by the way, I should point out from the last round that we just talked about, the Carvalho Burnell. The 2 judges who saw it the same way as me in the majority were Dave Peabody and Ben Cartledge. It was Eric Colon, who was the out judge, saw it the same way as you. Because Eric Colon is also the out judge on this one, seeing it for Clark. And it was Ron McCarthy and, again, Judge Peabody, who had this one for Hudson. As we're going to stick with, sir.
Hudson.
Who? Hudson. The thing that kind of stuck out for me is I really just didn't see a whole lot happening from what Hudson was doing. It was kind of similar to the last round, but I think even less so. It was much easier for me to kind of go the other way.
Well, Clark makes it easy because he's actually trying to finish. He's throwing heavy shots in passing.
Yeah,
and he got to back 2 in the previous fight, but wasn't doing much with it.
Sure. But in this particular round too, a lot of what Hudson was doing took place in front, directly in front of Eric Colon. Now, it looks like he's got kind of an obscured view because he's kind of right next to that post there, that door, whatever. And I know I've heard judges complain about the Bellator circle cage before, so we already know that there's some kind of issues there. Hopefully, he still has a very good view. But what that said to me, because he was the closest judge there, is he's able to kind of get a real read on what's happening, right? Much to maybe potentially a higher degree than the other judges might even be able to, because it's right in front of him. And that's not why I went that way, but when I ended up on the same side and then I saw, it was Judge Colon also saw it that way, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Then, yeah, I feel like I felt better about my score after the fact, knowing that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eric Colon is front and center for this round for a good portion of it.
They really got to move those stupid doors, though. And why does Bellator have to do a stupid circle? Pick a different shape.
Yeah, do a triangle.
No.
Square?
Bad idea.
Square?
No, I don't like it either.
Hexagon.
How about we do like, what's an 11-sided shape? I forget what that would be called. Just a weird random number. Do that.
Wouldn't it be close to like a
How about a
circle?
94-sided shape?
The more sides you get, the more circle it is.
Yeah, in theory.
So.
I think I'd heard that the PFL Smart Cage has apparently been very good.
Oh, okay.
I can't believe I just called it the Smart Cage. I actually feel really terrible.
You just called it a smart cage.
Yeah, now I feel really dumb. I feel like a dumb cage. But you and I, we saw for Clark. Judge Colon saw for Clark. He was alone in this one. So what does that mean for Judge Colon?
Couchside override.
I drive that one down to Jersey so it doesn't get lost in the mail.
Yeah.
But then I got to make the trip down to South Jersey. And I mean, do I want to get on the turnpike?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I've been I want to go train there.
Yeah?
I've been saying it.
So go do it.
I probably should.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. All talk over here.
You are all talk.
All talk.
Yeah. All right, we got two more rounds here. Leah McCourt got the win over Diana Silva. I believe it's Diana Silva is what they were saying. 30-27 twice and a 29-28. Third round is the only one we're talking about. Even though I believe John McCarthy, excuse me, had this one at 1 round apiece going into the third. All the other judges had Leah McCourt up 2-0. So we're talking about a round that more or less didn't have a whole lot of impact on the actual fight itself. But nonetheless, we will talk about this round, which does feature Ron McCarthy on it. So, Dan, what's happening?
Yeah, really close round. I think Silva's landing the bigger shots early in the round. McCourt's working her jab pretty good. Her front kick is pretty solid, the one to the body. I just think she doesn't do enough. She comes on stronger towards the end of the round, but I think Silva still edges it. She had a decent lead early, and I don't think she squanders it. No issue either way. It's just a really close round.
Yeah, I thought it was a really close round. One that, again, had no bearing on the result, so that's why I kind of buried it here under the other two rounds, because it doesn't really matter, and I don't think it was a poorly scored round by any stretch, by any judge. However, unlike judges Brian Miner and Eric Colon, I saw it the same way as you and Ron McCarthy as a 10-9 for Silva. So what does that mean for Judge McCarthy?
Couchside override.
Now he's on the other side of the country. That one's gonna have to go through the mail, and I hope I hope it makes it out there. Not a good track record though. And our last round, this was the only one that was on the Bellator prelims actually. Even though I don't know why they keep sticking Brett Johns on the Bellator prelims, he's a legit solid fighter that should be on the main card if you ask me. But he got the win nonetheless over Jordan Winsky, 2 30-26s and a 30-27. So we're only talking about the degree to which he won round 3, which was inconsequential to the result. Nonetheless, what happens here?
Yeah, Johns gets a quick takedown, continues to work from here throughout. I think he's dominating him in the wrestling and for a good amount of the round. So you got dominance and duration checked pretty solidly. I just think we're missing damage. No real strong sub-attacks or ground and pound. So I would have liked a bit more damage. But also Winsky had nothing. So I see the argument for the 8. I think both sides have fine arguments. But 10-9 for me.
Honestly, I wouldn't have needed too much damage, but there really just isn't much here at all. You know, because when you get the 2Ds, yeah, you can consider it absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with Judges Minor and Cologne going that way, and I think that's even independent of the idea lately. That's of course as we talked about for quite a while, going back to that Blachowicz and Adesanya fight from last year. Maybe you need damage to kind of get there. I don't think it has to do with that. That's not where my mindset is. There really just isn't a whole lot going on. It's
more that I should point out is it didn't seem like Johns was working for a finish.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So,
the degree to which he was. I mean, you're not grading pursuit, right? You're grading the actual impact of the actions and things. But none of these things really seems like it's too much of a threat to end the fight at all. So I did feel like, yeah, maybe this is a round that ought to just be a 10-9. As much as it's kind of on the fence, and I can understand why Brian Miner and Eric Colon went that way, I saw it the same way as you did, the same way as Judge Ben Cartledge, who is now licensed in Nevada.
Yes, congratulations.
That's big news. That's a big boost for Nevada. You love to see it. But nonetheless, we all saw it the same way. You, me, and Judge Cartledge. What does that mean for the judge from across the pond?
Couchside override.
And I'll tell you right now, there's no way it's gonna make it across the Atlantic Ocean. It's definitely it's gonna.
We might stick it in a bottle and throw it in there and see if it lands up on.
It's probably got a better shot than the post office based on all the results, right? Getting there. But that is it. That's our contested rounds. Finishes wise, we had 6 finishes, 2 TKO or KO, 4 submission or technical submission, as a couple of them were, and 2 ended in the first round. Of these finishes, what was your favorite?
I think we have the same one.
We sure do, sir. I think this is the only one that's really...
Yeah.
I mean, not that the others aren't worth talking about, but this was wild, right?
We're not going to see this ever again.
I feel like the way this happened was such a freak thing, right?
It's a freak position they ended up in.
Yeah, because I watched it distinctly to try and kind of parse out how it happened, and I've talked to people. No one seems to know, no one had a name for it. They called it the Lucanator or something like that when they announced it. Which is, by the way, that I feel dirty for having said that out loud. It's not the Lucanator. Come up with a technical terrible name, and it's better than the Lucanator.
It's just a variation of an arm triangle. But anyway,
yeah, it's a variation of an arm triangle. Take me through as best as you can what happened.
I mean, they're both, it's kind of like a rugby scrum, sort of, the position they end up in. You know what I'm talking about?
And Polklet had been on his back for most of this time, leading up to it. He's kind of looking to keep his head in check. It was almost like he was trying to set up some sort of, I don't know, an Ezekiel choke.
How his arm even can go that way?
Yeah,
is weird. And then he pops his head out to the side, and then it must have got super tight because Brian Miner, who worked a ton this event.
Oh yeah, he was in the cage. He was next to the cage. He did everything.
He noticed he's out cold and stops the fight. So
meanwhile, we got John McCarthy, who as anyone would tell you, was involved in developing the rules of mixed martial arts. Doesn't seem to notice that anything's going on, just like the rest of us. No, it was all of a sudden it was just over, right?
We
were just talking like it was a normal, kind of stalemated-ish position, and all of a sudden it was just gone. But hindsight being what it is, you're watching it and you're like, man, his arm is really pinching tight there. So it was wild to see, and I love to see innovative finishes like this. I feel like there's going to be a bunch of people who are actually going to come up with ways to set this up, and it will become something that can happen. It's still going to be hyper rare.
It's like the Joker teen kind of.
Yeah,
like that arm in that he sets up with cinching the arm with his hip. I actually, after that event, that was a very popular technique in the gym that people were trying to hit.
Sure.
So
I'm curious. I would love to be a fly on the wall in several jiu-jitsu gyms on Monday and just kind of see what that would be like.
Probably jiu-jitsu gyms are probably popping now because ADCC just happened, which only happens every 2 years. Oh yeah. So.
But nonetheless,
everyone's all on there.
This was something wild.
Yeah, this was crazy.
This was kind of a viral thing, right? It actually went viral just a little bit, and at least in our
Scott
MMA
Coker thinks
circles.
it's the sub of the year.
It's
interesting.
It's the most fascinating submission of the year. Is it the sub of the year? I don't know, but we'll come up with that later on when we do the judges, right? At the end of the year.
Oh yeah,
we got 3 months. Got 3 months to worry about that, and I got to start getting on my list for my. That's what I'm saying. I actually do have to start prepping for my MMA JA responsibility since I'm on the awards committee. So I should get on that.
Best podcast, Couchside Judges.
Yeah. We're not giving out. We haven't given out media awards yet. We still have to kind of get that together. But nonetheless, that is it for contested rounds. We just didn't have a whole lot of big things happening. In the Bellator, round wise, it just wasn't that kind of event. There were not a whole lot of big consequential rounds in this one, so I felt like we were missing something.
Yeah.
So we're giving a past judgment. We're gonna dip into the past judgment pool here, which we don't normally do in the middle of a contested rounds episode. Usually we kind of save it for an off week lately. That's what we've been doing, but yeah, we could squeeze one in.
Yeah, let's do it.
So why don't you remind everybody how we do past judgment, sir?
Yeah, we score rounds using the ABC criteria based on effective striking and grappling and the 3 Ds, damage, dominance, and duration. A 10-9 is a round where neither fighter checks off a D to a strong degree. A 10-8 can be considered for just one D, but must be given when 2 Ds are achieved. A 10-7 can be considered for 2 Ds, but must be given for all 3. The rare 10-10 is for partial rounds and basically staring contests. We've eliminated effective aggression and area control because it's extremely rare judges use these anyway. Scott, set up Kalib Starnes versus Nate Quarry.
Yeah, so this, for everyone who remembers, was a weird one. It was on the main card of UFC 83 middleweight bout. So remember, people paid money, and this was one of the fights that they were paying to watch from home. April 19, 2008, at Bell Center, or Centre Bell, I think is what they call it in Montreal. This was headlined by the rematch between champion Matt Serra and interim champion George St. Pierre. I think we all know how that one ended. It was St. Pierre. I'll just spell it. But Quarry's coming into this one at 36 years old. He was only 9-2 officially. I think the UFC tended to change their records based on how they fared on The Ultimate Fighter and everything, but not in an official sense. He was 9-2. Had just gotten a knockout victory over Pete Sell the previous September, which was his return after almost 2 years away, following a loss to Rich Franklin for the championship, November 2005, right? 36 years old at this point, right? Kalib Starnes, he's 33, 8-2-1, but I think his record once again was one of those deals. They announced it like 10-2-1 or something. But he had just lost by TKO to Alan Belcher the previous October. Judges for this one are Doug Crosby, Nelson Hamilton, and Pasquale Procopio. Referee is Tandan Mergliata. And one note before we get into this one, this being an older fight, very frequently, we do not have individual round scores. This is the case here. But we can just spoil it right now and just say Nate Quarry won every round to a certain degree with each judge. So that's where we're at. We're moving into round 1 here. It was a 3-round fight. What's happening, sir?
Yeah, I want to point out, Starnes actually throws the first strike of this fight.
Ooh, interesting.
I want to point that out. He throws a jab.
Yeah.
But
good for him.
I mean,
that's really nice to see in a fight.
Quarry, he's looking really good on the feet. He's coming out. He's landing to the head. The body shots were good. Leg kicks were solid.
He puts together nice combos too.
Yeah, Starnes. He's there. He's actually throwing some strikes. He's dancing in and out.
More out.
I mean, there's really only one way to score this round. I think Starnes is never really hurt. It's kind of, but some of the shots Quarry's landing, they're pretty solid. I think it's 10-8. I think he's got dominance on the feet. So 10-8 Quarry.
On the numbers, which again, numbers aren't, judges do not have them, number one. And number two, they can be misleading. But the numbers say that Quarry outlanded Starnes 30-2.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually not a sign that this was a very close round. And I think that actually this is a number that's reflective of just how much more in control of the round Nate Quarry was. It's a round that I think naturally is a 10-9 by the typical scoring, but we have the ability to kind of stretch it out a little bit. So I feel that there is a degree of dominance here. And there's my D, my 1D. I can consider the 10-8, and I feel comfortable doing that because we have a lot of timidity from Starnes. He's kind of running away at certain times too, and
I don't know. I'm gonna get it more into that at the end.
Oh, sure. I mean, he does it. He does it throughout the fight, though, and this was a round where you did see it. So I felt much better about giving me an 8 here. Same as you. We're in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Round 2.
Yeah, another round of Quarry looking really good. I think we got decent damage, some dominance here. I don't get to the 10-7 because I don't think the damage is all that high, nor is it really that immediate. He is outclassing him, though, so the dominance is pretty good. Starnes does throw a decent amount of punches, and he has one flurry. He put some steam on these punches, actually. After Quarry slips, he actually went and attacked him a little bit, but 10-8 Quarry.
He even managed an official takedown.
All right.
Which,
interesting.
Okay, it's sort of a takedown. What is it? Goldie said had him taken down for a millisecond.
By
millisecond, he meant like 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you were laughing
about?
Oh,
yes. That's what I was.
I was trying to figure out what
we were watching this together, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, what do you mean a millisecond? We watched it happen. It wasn't a millisecond, sir. We can time it. There were 3 of these 2 or 3 seconds. Anyway, it's not like he's paid to talk or anything, but
Remember he did that one Lions game?
Oh, God. And it was actually a Lions-Vikings game. Lions-Vikings is this weekend, now that you mention it.
Okay.
Yeah. The receiver was Golden Tate. I'll never forget that. But yeah, so I had this one as a 10-8 as well. Yeah, I think this is, again, another round where there's just way too much happening from Quarry's side and just not nearly enough happening from Starnes here. There's a degree of dominance in being outclassed. I think it's to a lesser degree, actually, in the first round. But I did still have it as a 10-8. You want to go 10-9? Okay, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I think what we have here is a round where just it would bother me if this was a round that was considered close to, like a close round, because it really wasn't. Starnes just doesn't do much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good with the 10-8 here. And I have it as 20-16 Quarry. So do you?
Yes.
Right, okay. Yeah. And moving on to the third and final round. At this point, there's no way that Kalib Starnes is trotting out there thinking, man, I think this is anybody's fight. Or
You can't
like,
think
I'm
that.
close to getting that knockout.
No.
It's like, based on what? Right? So we do have the third round. What is happening here?
Kind of a lower output round. Starnes did have some offense this round, and Quarry didn't land that much outside of a couple good leg kicks and a flurry at the end. Starnes gives him the finger at one point.
Well, why does he give him the finger?
Well, because Quarry
is doing the running man.
Quarry's doing the running man.
He's mocking him openly.
He's mocking. Here's the thing. I don't think Starnes avoided a fight. I just think he had a bad night. I think Ken Flo's commentary paints the narrative of him running, and I don't see it to that degree. At least, not the exaggerated extent that Ken Flo's pointing out.
But what would I ask you there? Finish your thought. I don't want to interrupt you.
He's doing a lot of backing up, but I didn't see him avoid fighting, really.
Okay, so Ken Flo is pointing out that he's running, right?
Yes.
Now, do you think that Nate Quarry is hearing Kenny Florian talk cage side in the bell side? No, so he's independently coming up with the idea that he's running away.
I just don't see it. I see a guy backing up, he comes forward, back in and out.
But what we're describing is two different people who were right there observing the exact same thing.
I think it's an off night. What was Kalib Starnes? What did he say after this? Didn't he say something?
I don't remember, but he never fought the UFC again.
Right.
This was his farewell.
I want to say I thought he said something like it was a protest against fighter pay or something ridiculous. I think that was just a saving face attempt. If that's what happened, I thought that's what I remember that being.
Well,
and
I mean, look, I'm all for fighters.
I just think he had a bad night.
But yeah, it certainly was a bad night. I wouldn't dispute that it was a bad night. I just think it was a bad night because he kept running away.
But I don't think he went into. I don't think he went into that fight saying, I'm just going to run away."
No, certainly not. But
that's what I remember. When I think of this fight, I remember, he completely avoided a fight. And rewatching it now, that's not what I saw.
I saw a guy who had opportunities to, while his opponent is clowning him, just try and throw a strike. And rather do that, he just flipped him off.
Yeah, I mean,
why wouldn't you just try to punch him?
That was the last 2 minutes of the fight, though.
Yeah, when he knows he's losing the fight, try to do something.
I don't know.
There's no way. There is no possible way that he or his coaches thought that he had any chance to win on the cards.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he had a bad night, but I'm not saying he avoided fighting. But I think it's exaggerated.
I don't know. I mean, look, he's getting outlanded, right? But there's not really a point in the fight through 15, like the entirety of the 15 minutes. There's no point in the fight where you say, "Oh man, Kalib Starnes is kind of hurt here."
He's not hurt at all.
He's just getting punched. But like, you couldn't get into it. Like, I don't know. I know we're talking about philosophical ways and that kind of thing, less than the actual way we score the round here, right?
I'm just saying, I think he's getting a bit of an unfair shake. I don't think it's to the point that it's made out to be in how it's remembered.
I'm not going to lie. I never would have painted you as the guy who was going to defend Kalib Starnes.
I'm not defending him. I don't want to defend him. It's not. He had a terrible performance, but I don't like the idea that he avoided a fight. I don't think that's the case at all.
That is this just fascinates me, sir. Yeah, to hear this from you, especially, is what fascinates me.
Like he tried to finish him in that when he slipped, he went in, he tried to kill him. He didn't, obviously.
No, he didn't come close to it, but
he had a competitive bone in his body there.
I don't know. And nonetheless, to get back to the actual scoring of the round, you had what?
This is a 10-9.
You have a 10-9. I can understand the 10-9. I think this is probably even closer than the previous round, which I thought was still close to getting to a 10-9. I did go 8 here. I don't feel very strongly about it at all. I actually I'm almost ambivalent about it, but I did go the 8 here because I don't, again, I'm not seeing anything coming from Starne's point here.
I thought this was his best round.
Probably.
And Quarry,
I mean, that's,
Quarry slowed a lot. Maybe not slowed, he just didn't throw a lot.
I mean, at some point he stops really trying that hard because he's just like, I'm tired of this crap. I'm just gonna start clowning him by running in place toward him, which is hilarious. He's literally not trying to even protect himself. He's not protecting himself at all times here, Nate Quarry. And Kalib Starnes still doesn't throw at him. He just says, "No, I'm gonna flip him off."
He's also,
but it was like
a while away from.
It was a very defensive finger flip. It wasn't like a Diaz, aggressive type, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It wasn't. I didn't go 10-9 because he gave him the finger.
No. I understand. I mean,
it was a weak.
It's probably good that you tell everybody that, just to be clear. But yeah. I knew. I had a feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, then of course he does the whole like the goofy, crossing his face up and throwing the goofy punches with the left arm kind of thing. At that point, Kalib Starnes, at least just kick him in the chest or something. Do something, guy. Like throw a teep. I don't know.
You could have just been defeated at that point. And I'm done.
Yeah, but this is your one more chance to get a little shot in there. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. But it's such a bizarre fight. We still remember it to this day. I have a 30-24 because I gave all 10-8s. You have, because we differed on this one, on 10-9 here. So you have 30-25 for Quarry, right? Our judges' cards on this fight. Doug Crosby had a 30-26. Nelson Hamilton had all rounds 10-9, so he's 30-27. Judge Procopio had a 30-24, which Mike Goldberg was speculating was the first in UFC history. I didn't have the time to research that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but it's definitely one of the first, you'd have to think. So I have no idea how he got there. Did he give out 10-8s? Or did he give out a 10-7 along the way? I don't know, because I gave 10-8s based on our extremely liberal way of scoring on this one and modern sensibilities and that kind of thing. So I don't know how he got the 30-24. That's a weird one. I feel like if I'm scoring it back then, this is a 30-27. I think Nelson Hamilton had it right. I don't even know which round Doug Crosby had the 8.
Maybe 2.
Who knows? I thought 8 was the best round for Quarry.
Round 8?
10-8. Round 1. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so I don't know. Very strange scoring, strange fight.
I'll give you that. Just strange fight.
It's totally strange. I'm glad we went to it though. This was my goal. I wanted to pick this really weird one for us, kind of spice it up a little bit. But that's it. That's it for this fight. Weird fight. But we can move on to looking forward to this weekend, sir, when it's a Bellator and a UFC Saturday.
Yes.
Let's start with Bellator because this has been a Bellator themed show mostly. And I'll be honest, this headliner here I think is easily the most interesting fight, like by a mile, of all the fights. UFC, Bellator, what have you. Patricio Pitbull defending his featherweight title against Adam Borics.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
I like Borics. He's someone who I've been very interested to watch along the way because they put him against Aaron Pico, right? In earlier on, it was at Madison Square Garden. And this was way too much of a jump for Aaron Pico. I don't think anybody realized it at the time, how bad of a mismatch that actually was. But Borics, he showed what he was worth, and he's looked fantastic. I think he's lost one fight in Bellator. But other than that, the guy, obviously, he's in a position to challenge for the belt here. And I'm not making a pick, but man, I think this is going to be a good fight. I actually think this is going to, be the counter to what we were saying earlier about Bellator and maybe some of their main events aren't so strong. Part of that is when Patricio Pitbull or Adam Borics is in the main event, they've tended to produce some interesting fights.
Yeah, what?
So
I'm excited for Pitbull. Borics is good.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious why they didn't do the immediate rubber match.
Well, AJ McKee, who's fighting on this card as well, he's in the co-main. He is moving up to 55.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if he's done at 45, but
okay.
I get the sense he might be because he is a big boy at 145. When they put out the same night weights, he was very high on there.
Okay.
And I have to think that part of that is just I'm tired of kind of cutting weight anymore. He's a big kid, so I think for him to go up to 55 is a good thing. You're just like me and wanting them to fight at more comfortable weights, so that's what he's doing here. So that's why, at least part of it, you'd have to think, why we don't have the trilogy fight between Pitbull and McKee. But I think we're in for a fun one here. Would you agree this is definitely the most interesting fight of the weekend?
Yeah. I mean, I do. Mackenzie Dern, I'm a big fan, so.
Well, we'll get to that one, but
But it's more interesting of a fight for sure.
I think it is. I think it's got to be, right? And California, this will be in California here, so we're gonna get some really standout judges, just like and Bellator tends to do that, right?
Probably get some Frank Trigg action.
Maybe there'll be some Frank Trigg working as a ref. Yeah, we might see that.
Mike Bell, maybe.
Who?
Mike Bell.
Who?
Mike Bell.
Oh, that's Mike Jones. Sorry.
Yes.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm just messing. It's late at night. What do you want?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's California. Like we said, it's going to be AJ McKee in the co-main against Spike Carlisle, UFC veteran, at 155 pounds.
He had that really crazy fight with Billy Q.
Yeah, it's a wild matchup though. I guess I don't want to say they're giving AJ McKee a soft landing in Spike Carlisle because he's wild, but I feel like someone of the accomplishments that McKee has probably could be matched up with somebody who's, let's say, higher in the rankings at Bellator.
This his first fight?
At
His
155
fight.
pounds?
Is this his last fight on contract or what?
No, I don't believe so.
Right? Wasn't he talking he wanted to fight out the contract and move on to the UFC or free agency?
I think free agency at least is the deal, unless they'll pay him what he's looking for. But no, this is not the last fight, if I understand. I believe he's still got at least one more after this one.
Okay.
So no, it's not necessarily that.
Okay, so that brings us back to the beginning of the show. I didn't know AJ McKee moved to a lightweight.
Okay,
Benson, I don't know how that matchup would go.
that'd be interesting.
So
You know what? That would have been an interesting fight to do. Maybe they should have had Benson Henderson, AJ McKee fighting in a main event last weekend.
Yeah.
That would have been, I think, much more fascinating. It would have kind of gripped the public a little bit more. I think it would have been a closer fight, or at least one that produced a more interesting fight.
That could be his title eliminator if they do Usman and Patricky next.
Sure.
Just put it on the same card. They're on the same timeline, so.
That would be interesting. Yeah. And of course, Aaron Pico is on this card as well. He's fighting Jeremy Kennedy. I almost called him Jamie Kennedy, but that's a different guy, as we know. Not a fighter. 145 pounds. And then I also like, because this whole main card, I think, for Bellator is pretty interesting. Juan Archuleta and Enrique Barzola at 135 pounds.
Yep, that could be a wild one.
Yeah.
So.
This is one of the better Bellator main cards that I can think of. It has for me, it has kind of a Strikeforce feel to it, right?
Right.
In the sense that I think all these fights on the main card are very interesting. It's also a main card that doesn't feature a ton of fights, if I understand it. My understanding is it's only a 4-fight main card held on Showtime. There's a lot of things that feel very Strikeforce-y to me, and that's a good thing. More of this.
If the production felt Strikeforce-y, that's where it falls for me.
I don't know. It still feels like watching. I mean, Showtime does. It's the whole Showtime deal. It feels like watching Showtime fights.
No, it doesn't feel that. It doesn't feel like old school Strikeforce to me.
Agree to disagree. I mean, the only thing really missing is Jimmy Lennon Jr. instead of Michael C. Williams.
Morrow.
Yeah, I guess Morrow too. That's true.
Also, Max Rosskopf is on here.
Although Morrow sometimes does. He just he hasn't been on them lately.
Yeah.
He's probably on next weekend, if I have to guess. Yeah.
Max Rosskopf's on here. Wasn't he the guy who got the short notice fight in the UFC? And his corner was yelling at him to fight, and he's like, "No, I don't want to fight anymore."
Yep.
And he kind of got unfair shake from his corner.
I also thought that was really bad. I had a bad job by everybody there.
So it's good to see. He's
less Rosskopf. Everybody else though. Yeah, nice to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for Bellator. I like this card. I actually think it's superior to the Vegas UFC Vegas card that we're going to be talking about, which is headlined by, like you mentioned, Mackenzie Dern. She's going against Yan Xiaonan at 125 pounds. It's not that I don't like this fight. It's just there's a difference.
There's other fights.
There's levels
Yeah.
to main events here, and I think Pitbull and Boris is just a much higher level main event than Dern and Yan.
I suppose, yeah.
But I mean, I like it. I'm curious to see how Dern does here. I think this Yan is one of those names that's just I don't think she's someone that everyone kind of thinks of at 125 pounds. So it's a tough one. I think it's tougher than probably, let's say, casual fans might realize.
Okay.
That's my feeling on it.
Well, I'm gonna watch it.
I bet you are.
Yep.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch? Let me ask you this: are you gonna watch both Bellator and
What
UFC?
time are they competing? Head to head?
I didn't get the chance to check, but here's my guess. My guess is that UFC is at like 7 o'clock. Main card.
UFC main card probably 7. It looks like the prelims start at 4.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and then probably Bellator starts at like 10 or 9, maybe.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay.
But I mean, if you have the ability to confirm that while I talk and waste time, we could potentially get the answers on that.
Well, yeah, I got 4 o'clock prelims for UFC.
Right. We got that. But what about Bellator? That's the real question. When does Bellator 286 start? But
Bellator
again,
286.
Well, while you figure that out, this is in Nevada,
7 p.m. starts. Maybe that's a 7 p.m. Prelims. It looks like.
My hope is that would be the prelims. So if we miss
Yeah.
the prelims, which I think is it's less,
Quite a few
well,
prelims.
let's say a less sexy group of names than the main card. The main card is much more interesting. There are some guys who we do see at the Bellator level, right? Like typically, so like Kalib Starnes, JJ Wilson. We mentioned Roscoff already. There's plenty of guys here who we've actually seen. It's not like what we sometimes see in Bellator where it's a bunch of like 1-0, 2-0 like that used to be, right? It's not that, but I'm gonna watch the if I only have one screen on, I'm watching Vegas UFC, right? Couple fights here on the UFC event that I like: Randy Brown and Francisco Trinaldo. I think that's got potential to be a really fun fight.
That should be fun.
I think it'll be a really good
Randy
time.
Brown's a big human. I was in close proximity to him.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been close to another big
sure.
human, or is this your first?
Well, I mean, I didn't. When he fights at 170 and I see the size of this guy, I'm like,
Okay.
Really? It just doesn't make sense.
I've had George Mirasan put his hand on my head, so no one's a bigger human than one of the biggest humans who ever lived.
Yeah, that's a big guy.
Yeah, 7'7", that man. He palmed my head. It was wild. A very gentle giant, though.
Yes.
He didn't crush my head.
Brendan Allen's fighting on this card.
Brendan, I like that. The Brendan Allen fight.
Jocko.
Yes, Christoph Jocko. That's the only thing is sometimes Christoph Jocko fights are not all that thrilling. But I do like Brendan Allen, so maybe there will be a happy medium there. Yeah. Or maybe he'll just get dragged into a Christoph Jocko fight that's not always fun. The other fight that I'm actually more interested in is Ilir Latifi and Alexei Olenek. Because anytime Olenek is on here, you might see an Ezekiel choke. And that's always fun.
Might see any kind of weird choke.
Really good chance that it just doesn't go to the cards. Latifi's going to come in riding a horse, I imagine. Shirtless.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he'll be shirtless because he competes that way, but maybe the horse will be there too. That would be fun. Just one time, UFC should just allow people to get wacky. Let them ride horses in. Let them.
They tried that with Chemo. He brought a cross out to the fight, and he was completely gassed after 2 minutes in.
Well, that was why.
Yeah.
Or let somebody borrow the Deontay Wilder suit, the one that looked like Shredder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't.
It was ill-advised.
Yes.
It was ill-advised. But overall, we had one weekend where we had no big fights on Saturday, and now we have another weekend where we have the top two promotions in the world. They have their main cards on the same evening.
There's MMA all week.
Of course there is. I mean, we've got Invicta on Wednesday.
Yes, Invicta with Jill DeCourcy. You talked to
Jillian DeCourcy. I went out to her gym and I spoke with her. I've got a story coming out this week in advance of that. Former guest of our show, of course, as well. So very interested to see how she does in that fight.
Bo Nichols fighting Tuesday on Contender Series.
Who's that? Never heard of him.
His second Contender Series fight.
Who's that?
He is going to be the next big thing.
Who?
Bo
Mike Jones?
Nickel. Remember
Mike
that?
Jones?
We also have one has two events this weekend. Thursday has 161, and then one on Prime Video 2 on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. And then we got UFC and Bellator on Saturday. So busy week.
A lot of fights. A lot of fights. That's a good thing.
Yes. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again on Monday. We're going to break down these contested rounds. Maybe a little from both.
I think we got to do both. We absolutely have, at the least from the main card of Bellator, right?
Yeah.
It might be tough to do everything just because when we have two event cards, it gets really chock full, right?
You think Ben's going to be in Nevada this weekend?
I don't know.
They need a lot of judges out there.
I guess we'll say.
Maybe.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Take care.